to the headline game this weekend. It's Arsenal at home to Manchester United, Sunday 4:30. We'll take a look at the betting that we currently have on matchbook.com. You can back Arsenal at 184 here, Manchester United 4.5. The draw is available at 4.1. Both teams to score. Again, it's the theme of the show. 1.6 is the current price on yes. The Asian handicap line sees United get a 3/4 of a goal head start at 1.9, and the goal line very high once again, 3.5. But 162 is the under, 244 the over. So, Mark, back to you on this one. And look, maybe Adrian can get into a little bit on terms about what Arteta's trying to do in his first 3 games and the style of play, but maybe a bit on Manchester United and that comeback win. They go 2-0 down to Nottingham Forest and they dig out a result. Are you more of an opinion of Manchester United after that game, less, or somewhere neutral after it?
Oh, less. Less. They're in some sort of funk at the minute. Rightfully criticised for their win against Wolves. Very good in the first half against Tottenham, then absolutely nowhere in that second half, and then against Forest. Just insane, really, what they were doing in the first 10 minutes and then the final 10 minutes when playing against 10 men as well. Yeah. To nearly concede from a set piece in the last minute as well. Varane going off injured at half time. He's missing this weekend. Still no Shaw as well. So that defence is going to be weaker this weekend. I thought Eriksen coming back into that team might allow the midfield to be a bit more balanced without Mason Mount there. But again, they looked weirdly overrun, outmanoeuvred by Nottingham Forest. And I mentioned on week 1 or after week 1 about the potential fitness issue against Wolves, where they look really laboured and sluggish. I could say the same about the last 2 games, where they haven't finished well at all, physically and mentally. They haven't looked at the races, and you do wonder whether it's something they've done intentionally, or it's the sort of payoff of travelling around the world for pre-season. I just don't know, but they've not looked at it at all. And you can't really go into a match against Arsenal and not mention their away record against big teams under Ten Hag, which we have done many, many times now. We saw them lose at Spurs. They've now faced 10 teams who finished in the top 9 last season away from home under Ten Hag. They've taken 1 point from those 10 matches, conceding 30 goals, conceding 2 goals or more in 9 of those 10 games as well. So it's difficult to be pro-United here, even if I've not been impressed massively by Arsenal either. Sort of doing what was required really against Forest about sort of setting the pulses racing. Second half, they looked a bit uncomfortable, weren't hugely on it from an attacking perspective. Some great goals scored, but ground it out against Palace, pretty ordinary game. And then Fulham, just the sloppy errors and marking again from set pieces against 10 men, just not acceptable really if you're wanting to be in a title challenge. And I think you guys talked about Arteta possibly getting his team wrong against Fulham. I think he's got his team wrong from the start of the season, in my opinion. I'm not really sure what he's trying to achieve. If Gabriel's leaving the club, then fair enough. But why is he on the bench? Just extradite him completely. Just get him involved. He's a wonderful player. If his head's in the game and he's good enough for the bench, he should be good enough to play. Tomiyasu's suspension obviously required a bit more of a shuffle around, but they've been playing with square pegs in round holes. And I think Zinchenko coming back in will be a massive help. Get Gabriel back in will be a huge help. Get White back to right back. Allow Partey to move back into midfield. And take Havertz out of the firing line and have Rice and Partey as a really strong central midfield pairing alongside Ødegaard. I think that's quite exciting. So they do have options, of course. But, the Arsenal that we saw last season hasn't been there at the minutes, and I think that's a bit of a shame, really, because I have really liked the business that they've done this summer at Emirates Stadium, of course, this weekend. So I'm expecting it to be lively, as matches tend to be there. Going back to the start of last season, Arsenal have scored twice or more in 17 of 21, scored 3 times or more in 13 of 21. Including that really fun sort of 3-2 when these 2 teams met here last season. Expecting similar, to be fair, because Arsenal will give you opportunities at the Emirates. 16 of those 21 games we've seen both teams score. 15 of those have gone over 3.5 goals, with those matches averaging 4.04 goals, which is just enormous, really. And it's quite hard to ignore. So regardless of who the opponents are, matches here tend to be quite entertaining, quite goal heavy. I think United's defence, coupled with Arsenal's issues in both boxes, and Gabriel Jesus coming back in at least will give kind of the overs a bit of a look here. So I'm going to combine both teams to score an over 2.5 goals at 1.8. I think it's the safest solution. I wouldn't be too adverse actually though to taking Arsenal to win this match and both teams to score at 3.3. I'm just not yet the trusting phase of Arsenal, and they went off at the same price back in January for this match, where obviously they're in a much better place. So yeah, I don't feel like I'm getting a value price out of them at the minute. So I'll just back goals and just purely goals.
Okay, that was well laid out for Marco here. Over 2.5 and both teams to score combined gives you a 180 price. Adrian, we sort of know, and Mark touched on the changes of what people are expecting Arteta to go back to last season. Zinchenko, Gabriel, Partey pushed into midfield, perhaps Jesus to come in. How likely do you think he is to do those changes? Is there any danger, not danger is probably the wrong word, but that he might stick with a Partey at right back and, I don't know, stick to what he's been doing the first 3 games?
Well, he's his own man, Mikel Arteta.
That's where I'm getting at, yeah.
I think that 90 to 95% of Arsenal fans, if not more, would pick the team that Mark laid out, myself included. You'd have Zinchenko doing the inverting from left back, White at right back, Gabriel and Saliba reunited. I'd have a midfield of Rice, Partey, and Odegaard, and use the front three. Saka, Martinelli, and I'd probably stick with Nketiah and bring Jesus off the bench, seeing as Eddie's been playing so well. So, yeah, that's the team I would expect. But Mikel is full of surprises at the moment. Kai Havertz, it hasn't really clicked for him yet. I think it will once he scores a goal or starts making contributions. I think he'll be fine. But he hasn't got off to the start that Arsenal fans wanted, and he hasn't looked sharp. So I'd probably leave him out of this game if I was in charge. In terms of the match, I'll just echo pretty much everything that Mark said. I mean, I'm going a little bit bolder. I'm taking the Miguel Delaney route here and going over 3.5 goals. He'd probably be going over 4.5 at this point.
Yeah.
But, I'm going over 3.5, which is unusual for me. But it's landed at Emirates Stadium 71.4% of the time since the start of last season, which is just bonkers. Yeah. Mark rattled off all the figures. The last 4 meetings have all gone over 3.5. Yeah, Emirates Stadium has been a fun place to watch football, and nothing we've seen so far would suggest this will be different. United have a lot of threats going forward. We know that. Bruno Fernandes, for as average as Man United have been, he's carrying a threat. Marcus Rashford is always good against Arsenal, or it seems like he is. Last season, he scored 3 goals in the 2 league games and gave the Gunners a really tough time off the left. And I think that's probably where we'll play again this time. So, yeah, the way that Arsenal have been defending, even with that lineup that I've sort of mooted, it would be hard to contain Man United and to keep a clean sheet, because they have looked a bit wobbly. I can't lie that they haven't looked like keeping clean sheets on home turf for a while. They're giving up some big chances and making some real bad individual errors. But United, they're very depleted with Shaw and Varane out. That midfield is porous, isn't it? You can just stride through it. I mean, I just want, if he doesn't change it, I've talked about Arsenal stiffening up the midfield. If I'm Ten Hag, I'm stiffening up their midfield, to be honest, and maybe bringing in a McTominay or just alongside a Casemiro, just to keep things a little bit tighter, because Arsenal will hurt them in that area. I've got no doubt about that. Partey steaming forward, sometimes Rice as well, Odegaard here, there, and everywhere. I think Arsenal will definitely target that, because Arsenal are a powerful, fit, fast team, and as Mark's pointed out, United have looked a little bit sluggish. Now, Arsenal haven't been at their fluent best, and they haven't been as sharp as you want them to be. But this is a match that gets the juices flowing for Arsenal players and supporters. Arsenal have a very good home record against them. And we remember the pre-season game. And in that pre-season game, Manchester United rocked up, I think it was in New York, with the sole intention, it seemed, of just kicking every single Arsenal player from pillar to post. And believe me, Mikel Arteta will have remembered that. So I'm expecting Arsenal to be pumped up for this game, big time, and to steam into Manchester United, who are vulnerable. What they've got to avoid is conceding the first-minute goal, which is just getting ridiculous. 3 times in 9 home matches. I did hear a stat, and it's amazing, that in the entire history of the Premier League, it had only happened twice in Arsenal home games where they conceded in the first minute. And then it's happened 3 times in the last 9 games.
Oh my God.
So it's just, it is freakish. Hopefully that's the end of it. And everyone's fully concentrated from the word go on Sunday. But yeah, I'd lean to Arsenal, but because of the record, because I think Arsenal are a better team than United, and I don't think Arsenal are too far away from clicking. But I haven't got enough confidence based on what we've seen so far to back them. So I'd just go for goals, a little bit like Mark. But yeah, over 3.5, and it's quite a good price, isn't it?
Yeah, fight and talk from Adrian Clarke there, referencing the preseason friendlies just to get the juices flowing at the Emirates Stadium, calling out all Arsenal fans to make that atmosphere, particularly in that first minute, so they don't concede a goal. We're going to lock in over 3.5 goals, 2.44. But again, Mark's one is also over 2.5 in both teams to score. And incidentally, Miguel Delaney will be back for the Champions League podcast throughout this season. So really look